hello, hello. Welcome to the first episode of Living in Contemplation. I am Lanae, also known as Sweet Tea Lanae, and I am from Pensacola, Florida. I like to think that I am a country girl living in the city. I am a Christian, a wife, a mother, and yeah, that pretty much identifies me. Um, but there's more, right? I'm an introvert. I love helping others. Um, I am a loyal friend. Um, so much. But that's just a little bit about me. Um, we can kind of like hop into my experiences. So I am a social worker and I currently live in Japan. So I've been a social worker for a little over 12 years now. Um, Absolutely love it. I believe it's my calling, obviously, because I love helping people. It's been a long journey, a long ride. However, I am taking a break from social work, and I believe that it's been a long time coming. And I say that because I am the type of person when I really enjoy what I'm doing, when I really love my work, I put in 100%, if not more. And that is what I was doing nonstop. And so, with that being said, my mental and physical health took a back seat. And if you know anything, when you're in a helping profession, that causes exhaustion. I mean, it causes a whole lot of things, but I've been having my own health issues going on. So it kind of forced me to really take a step back and really look at my life and be like, okay, it's time to take a break. Not saying that I won't go back to social work because, like I said, I really enjoy helping people. I absolutely love it. But I want to also be here for my daughters who are ages 6 and 16 months. That is very important to me, especially after losing my best friend of 25 years. So it is important that we remember what this life is and that is temporary. And though my job has always been important to me and I never knew what life outside of that was, I'm a mother. I'm a wife, and I owe it to my family to be there for them and not just pouring into others, but not pouring into them and pouring into myself, right? That is very important. So, yeah, but that was a that was a lot. But I just kind of wanted to give you guys some insight about why I took a break because it kind of will lead into why a podcast, right? And I've already talked about, obviously, me being a social worker, me needing a break. Um, and like I said, don't know how long that break will be for, but yeah, it's a break nonetheless. Just a little backstory. I always wanted to do a podcast. I just didn't know how to go about it, how I would do it, what I would do it on. There's so many lanes. And then there's also a lot of things that interest me, right? But I also never thought I would do a podcast by myself. Um, and maybe that's because of my anxiety and, just the thought of having someone else to lean on. Um, it's helpful, right? When it's all you, it's like, it's just you. It's no one else that you can really lean on. And help brainstorm and all of those things. So I've tried doing a podcast like a few times with friends, different friends, and it just never happened. So yeah, that leads us to here. So I was in a training for social work. Um, we have to do what they call CEUs to stay up to date with our licenses. And in this particular training, I was listening to this lady, and it was just a breath of fresh air. Like a lot of the trainings can be a little dull, like I try to pick trainings that are of interest to me and, relevant to the work that I'm doing. But most of them are a little dull. But this particular presenter was amazing and she was very personable. And it allowed me to learn a lot from her. And it was just a great experience nonetheless. So I just enjoyed it. And while I was listening to her, right, because when I say she was personable, like a lot of the training was about her own life. Um, and then obviously how she learned to navigate it and, how it basically led her to the work that she now does. But while I was in the training, the Holy Spirit spoke to me and told me basically what the title or the name of my podcast is, Living in Contemplation. So when that came to me, I kind of was like, I didn't know what to do with it. So I wrote it down and I was like, I'll come back to it later. And that's exactly what I did. So once I was done with the training, I went back to it and I just started writing pages and pages in my journal. I believe that with doing this podcast, I am following my divine purpose because I'm listening to the Holy Spirit. Now, what I am hoping to accomplish with the podcast is a sense of community, um, and a support group, so to speak. So you may be like, what do I mean by that? Right? And what I mean is, I want this to be a place where we can communicate with one another, even though obviously this is a solo podcast and you're either listening to me on wherever you listen to podcasts or you're watching this on YouTube. You can reach out to me on Instagram, via messaging or commenting on any platform that I'm on. And yeah, we can have a discussion. Like if it's something that you want to talk about or discuss, or you want to write me a letter about something you're going through, and obviously with your permission, I will share it on the podcast. And that will open the door for peers to comment and give their perspective, because I truly think that is important. And I believe that with having a community, we all come from different walks of life. We've all experienced different things. And sometimes having a different perspective on things can be really helpful. So that is what I hope to accomplish. Um, so yeah, that is what I want to do. Of course, I will be the first to share my story, and then we will go from there. So I'm hoping to have a lot of listeners, have a lot of viewers, so we can get this ball rolling and yeah, start a community and just, begin supporting one another. So that is what I want to do. Um, so you may be asking, like, what is living in contemplation, right? And when the name came to me, I truly thought about all the ways I've contemplated things in my life. Um, some bigger than others, but I believe that there are times in our life when we will contemplate things, and it's natural. I think that is normal. Um, and just for an example, we can be talking about contemplating careers, contemplating whether or not to stay or leave a relationship, contemplating what it is you want to major in college. There's all sorts of contemplations in life. Let's say someone um, has a really great job, right? And this is like an outside perspective. So you see someone that have a really great job, they're making six figures, and then that person tells you that, oh, I think I'm gonna leave that job and take this other opportunity, but it'll be a huge pay cut, right? Now, with not having much information to go off of, you may think that person is crazy. But then that person tells you that they're miserable at their current workplace and they've been contemplating for some months now about leaving because every time they go to work, they're physically sick. Um, and they have already interviewed for another job somewhere else, and the environment is just more pleasing, and they believe that they will be happier there. So, in this scenario, we are contemplating money essentially. Like, is having more money worth my happiness? Because then you have to start thinking like it's already affecting them physically. So if it's affecting them physically, it's more than likely affecting them mentally and emotionally. And will they get so sick that they end up like having a heart attack? Like these are things that we have to consider and think about when we are, when we're just trying to live life and get ahead, but we also want to be happy and you don't want to give up happiness. I truly believe that everyone should do what they love, but I know that some people would disagree and say that, you know, I have to provide, I have to do X, Y, and Z. So bump my happiness. I'm just gonna make this sacrifice and make money until I have enough saved, and then I can go and do what I want to do. But that is contemplation. That is an example of how we contemplate, and it's literally making a decision, deciding to do what it is that you want to do. But everything isn't that scenario. Some things can be a relationship. I'm in a relationship and I have one foot in and one foot out. I am uncertain if I can do better than the person I'm with. But this relationship doesn't make me happy. And so it's like contemplating like, okay, do I want to be here or do I just want to be by myself for a while? So, yeah, I know that was a long little rant, but that's what I mean by contemplation, right? But overall, living in contemplation is about life. the difficulties of life, just how life is just, it can be so hard and so difficult at times. But it's very important to find what makes you happy. And I know my husband gets on me all the time. Like, you need to find a hobby. You need to find a hobby. And so I'm hoping that this podcast can be my hobby, actually. Um, I enjoy things, but I am not who I was in my 20s. Now that I'm in my late 30s, I am not the same person. Like so the things I enjoyed in my 20s, I don't enjoy now. And I mean, one, I'm maturing, I'm becoming wiser. I, think about my kids and how things will affect them. So, like, some things you just can't do. And then obviously I'm married. So, yeah, some things you just can't really do anymore. And honestly, I don't even want to do much. I really enjoy being home with my family and spending time with my family. And that is the most important thing to me. Now, do I like to go out to eat and see movies and things like that? Of course. But I just love being home. I'm a homebody. So, but that is that. Expectations. We can just move on to that next. So, expectations for the podcast. Um, like I said, community support group, whatever you want to call it. But basically a sense of community, us uplifting one another. That is what I want. No negativity, bullying whatsoever. I do not stand for it. I believe in positive vibes only. Okay. Constructive criticism is one thing, but I think sometimes people can take it too far and then it can be like bullying. All right. So I don't want that to be the uh the space that we're in. So positive vibes only. And obviously with any community, respect. That is like first and foremost. I believe that it's important to be respectful, right? We don't know what other people are going through unless they are willing to share. And even with that, like, people can leave things out. So just be mindful of that. So I truly want us to be respectful and understand that everyone has different belief systems. No two people are going to think the same. And it's okay. It is okay. I don't believe in forcing beliefs down people's throats. Like I said, I am a Christian. Um, and I believe in God. You know, I am proud of that, but at the same time, I'm not going to shove it down your throat. It's not my place. But I will reference my faith just because, like I said, I'm a believer. So it will come up here and there when I'm talking, but I'm not going to be like, you have to do this way. It has to be this. You have to believe. And no. Um, as much as I want people to believe, it's just not my place. And so, um, I think that's very important. And nor do I want someone telling me that God doesn't exist and trying to shove that down my throat. Um, because it will get us nowhere and it will lead to negativity and all of that stuff. So it's just like, let's just respect that, you know, it's like agree to disagree, basically. Something that I think is important because I know um, I'm choosing to walk by faith, and but it doesn't mean that I always do that. And I think it is important that we know we are all sinners, right? We are all sinners, and none of us are walking the straight and narrow path because it's inevitable. You're going to make mistakes because no one is perfect. And so when I think about life and I think about humans, I'm just like, we are all sinners walking crooked lines. And when you think of things that way, I think it allows you to have respect for people who do not share, you know, your views. And you just pray. That's what I do. I just pray. But yeah, I don't like when people think they're above and beyond someone because that is never true. There is no one better than the other. Um, and if only we learned these things, uh, especially going through puberty and things, you know, when you have like the popular kids and then the ones that get bullied by the popular kids. Um, I mean, I never understood it. No one is better than anyone. And we should embrace each other's differences. And yeah, I may not agree with everything, but hey, I'm still going to respect you as a human being because that is the right thing to do. And unless you disrespected me, there's no reason I should be disrespecting you. But even when someone is disrespectful, technically you should still be respectful. But, you know, like I said, we're all sinners. We're all still learning in life. So what I kind of want to get into now is what you can expect in future episodes. So this was just an introduction, and the next 3 episodes will be it's going to be a 3-part series of me pretty much discussing my life and how I've dealt with contemplation, how I've overcome contemplation. So gonna be talking toxic relationship. I don't know how much detail I will go into because if you know me personally, then you will know the person that I am referring to, and I don't really want to talk bad about that person. Um, so a lot of it is going to be talking about my mess ups in the relationship, but I still will have to obviously discuss some things about them. Um, but yeah. Next, I will be discussing college, career. I'm lumping those two together, and how I contemplated in my college and career. And last but not least is suicide, um, which is a big one, and I hope that it helps someone. I hope all of them help someone really, but especially that one. Um, so yeah. So let's just go ahead and talk about where you can find me. So as I mentioned earlier, I am on Instagram. I don't really be on other social medias like that. So Instagram is really where I'm at. You can follow me at sweet underscore T underscore Lanae. And that's Lanae. And you can also follow the podcast at Living in Contemplation. And then on YouTube, if you want to check out the video on YouTube, which is nothing spectacular, it's just me in front of my camera that I'm not even really looking at. Um, but if you want to see it, because you're a visual person like me, you can check out Sweet Tea Lanae on YouTube, and I will be posting all episodes of the podcast on there. So make sure you check that out. And yeah, until then, peace and blessings. And as they say in Japan, Jane.